Hey there everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Frazier. Let's jump into all of the nitty-gritty details in regards to this upcoming winter storm we're looking at. Overlooking downtown Midland right now, I'm not seeing, well, much of anything. There's nothing big going on, and I think we all like it that way. Now is going to be the perfect time if you happen to be out and about over the next couple of days. Go ahead and stock up on just a couple of things, maybe some bread, milk, bottled water. And last night I mentioned cat litter. A couple of you guys had questions. Why would you need cat litter? I don't even have a cat, I have a dog. Well, you know what? Great question. So here's the thing. When I worked up north with all the blizzards, cat litter does the same thing that sand does in the case that you get stuck in the snow. And I mean that with your car. Helps you add extra grip on those tires. Ideally, you don't want to be out driving, especially when we're looking at a lot of that potential for that freezing rain and that ice, and then we get the snow on top of it. Not the best look. So let's go through a couple of the graphics and see what we got going on. So it's just a little after 9 o'clock. It's 43 degrees. We got calm winds. We got high pressure, and the skies are nice and clear. Even though, because we don't have wind, we don't have the feels like temperature getting down too terribly low. So we're kind of in that perfect seasonable normal right now. We got up to about 57, 58 degrees this afternoon. We started off the day, getting down into those 20s, but it's honestly not too far off from where we should be. All right, where can we see the incoming front? I'm not really seeing a whole lot other than just a little bit of that very high atmospheric cloud cover moving its way in from the northwest, give or take. That is where that entire system is, but if we zoom out a little bit, are we seeing anything? No, as a matter of fact, still nothing. So where is this entire system? Well, maybe it's a little bit farther to the north. Here's the thing. In all reality, the actual front itself hasn't really significantly formed yet down near the surface. That's why we're not seeing a whole lot of cloud cover or rain. All of the stuff we are seeing is farther out toward the Appalachian Mountains. That was actually from our last cold front. You guys remember that from just a few days ago? Well, that was the entire system. Well, for us, in the meantime, there's not a whole lot going on. As a matter of fact, much of the U.S., other than around the Mississippi River Valley, looks to be pretty clear. So, okay, you would have no idea that this big storm system is coming in, but that's why we got the models, and all of them are in agreement that we're going to see some pretty nasty stuff. Until then, though, I say it again, this is the time to prepare. Heading into the overnight hours, we're going to be only in those upper 20s, not too far off from what our seasonable average low is. Our average low is about 33, so as long as we're within a couple of degrees of that, I'm not here to complain about it. So, interestingly enough, last night, we were issued a special weather statement from the National Weather Service. Now, special weather statements are usually issued during our severe weather season. What do I mean? Well, during the springtime and during the fall, when we start to see, maybe a little bit of that hail, tornado, wind threat, well, a special weather statement is kind of the step below anything of significant warning. What was that special weather statement about last night then? Well, it was basically saying, hey, we're not entirely sure if we're going to see precipitation, but we are going to see downright cold temperatures. And, well, if you've lived in West Texas for more than a year, you know that typically in our winter time, it's late January, we tend to get our pretty strong cold fronts that bring us down into the teens and single digits during the overnight hours, and potentially about a 24 to 72 hour period where we don't get above freezing. Okay, we can normally deal with that as long as there's no precipitation, because we live in an area that, sure, we have a little bit of de-icing and snow equipment. The key word is a little bit. We can handle a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow, very similar to what we saw right before the new year. That's exactly what we saw. Just a little bit of that snow falling, but the ground itself was far too warm to support anything, so it melted away quickly. And because they were brining a lot of the roads, which is just spraying salt water on it, like when you try to boil water, salt water has a lower boiling point. It also has a lower freezing point. That's why you don't see the oceans freezing over unless you're near the poles. Okay, so what do I got going on here? Got a whole lot of blue. If you're feeling blue, this is why. Winter storm watch. Okay, so that tells me that we have the likelihood to see a winter storm, but it's not guaranteed. It's a watch, just like any other watch. It just means, hey, watch out for something. It could be coming. But here's the thing. That's the entire state of Texas, with the exception of El Paso. And a lot of New Mexico as well. Yikes. As a matter of fact, let's zoom out. Let's see how much of Texas is covered in this. Well, basically, all of Texas with the exception of San Antonio and south. And it's not just Texas. It's Oklahoma. It looks to be Arkansas. We're looking at Tennessee. It extends all the way into the Carolinas, even into the Virginias. Southern Ohio is seeing it as well. Yikes. So this is going to be quite a big storm system. But here's the good news. Latest model data keeps moving the heavy impacts of snow and ice farther and farther to the north. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to see anything. We're still likely to see some stuff, but we're not going to see 10, 20 inches of snow. I mean, that barely happens out here anyway. So not that we were worried about that to begin with, but I'm looking at like Oklahoma City. They're looking to see, based on the models, now still a little early in terms of the model runs, they're actually going to see anywhere from 10 to 20 inches. Okay, what about, maybe you got family, you got friends, out toward Houston, Austin, Dallas, maybe even San Antonio, Corpus Christi. What's that darker blue? Well, that darker blue is extreme cold watch. Well, believe it or not, we're actually under that extreme cold watch as well. As a matter of fact, I have it from Friday to Saturday. What is it for? Well, the extreme cold watch is for wind chill values, at least for our area, getting down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know about you, but I think 0 is pretty cold. Yeah, so we are looking at not air temperatures getting down there, but those wind chill temperatures getting down there. Now, a couple of safe places that are unlikely to see a whole lot. I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little bit more of those cities. Looks like Marfa is kind of on the edge here. Presidio looks to be safe. Terlingua, Big Bend, they could see a little bit of that wintry mix falling down, but overall, the farther south you go, the safer you're going to be in this entire situation. Balmorhea, no, you guys are still in that. Fort Davis as well, Van Horn, but there's not a whole lot in terms of cities or places to go, because at this point you're kind of entering national park territory. So that's exactly what we're going to be seeing, which is, hey, if you're anywhere in West Texas, we're likely going to see the impacts of that winter storm. Okay, so let's go ahead and move a little bit into that future track. I'm not going to do the pause points I do in the show. I'm just going to take you through it. So here we are about 11:30 tonight. A little bit of those partly cloudy skies. That's not that bad at all. So let's go into Thursday morning. Just still a little bit of those partly cloudy skies. Nothing too crazy. Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. Okay, Thursday is our very just uneventful day. I don't see a whole lot taking place. As we move into Thursday evening, that's actually still pretty nice. So hey, if you haven't run any kind of errands yet, maybe you just want to pick up a couple of things, there's no reason to hoard. We're not looking at major, infrastructure problems. Hopefully. But it doesn't look to be 2021 all over again. Ideally, they made some decent improvements to the power grid, but I tell you the weather, I'm not in charge of the power grid. The biggest threat to the power grid is going to be freezing rain. Ice accumulating on power lines. Power lines are not meant to be pulled or weighed down in any way. That's what causes some of those localized power outages. So we're going to keep our eye on that, and we're going to be keeping our eye on the power grid as well. But from the looks of it right now, the state seems to be pretty confident in it, so I'm just going to take them at their word. So let's move into Friday. Friday's when we're going to start seeing a little bit more of that action. Starting off the early part of the morning, heavy cloud cover. Okay, well, I have projected highs for your Friday only getting into those mid-40s. This is why. Lots of cloud cover like that, you're not going to really warm up too much. Going into the early morning, still maybe a stray sprinkle here and there. Okay, that's fine. We're still going to be above freezing for much of the day Friday. Even heading into your lunch hour, maybe just a little bit of spotty showers here and there, 2, 3 o'clock. Okay, that shouldn't interrupt anything. Maybe you're picking up your kids from school come Friday afternoon, you're heading back home from work. You might just have that umbrella handy, but I'm not looking at freezing rain that early in the afternoon. The cold front at this point really hasn't pushed its way through yet. As we move into Friday evening, all right, now we're looking at a little bit of that pink popping up, that mixed precipitation, typically in the form of freezing rain around Hobbs and Seminole. This starts up, based on this model, around 9:30. All right, so when's it going to move down farther south? Well, as quickly as around 11:30. That's when we start seeing widespread below freezing temperatures. Okay. So if temperatures are below freezing, why are we seeing mixed precipitation as opposed to snow? Well, that's a great question. So what I'm looking at is warm air in the upper part of the atmosphere, cold air down near the surface. Doesn't happen too often, but because of this, the stuff itself is going to start falling from the clouds. Because it's warm, it's going to fall as rain. And then as it gets closer and closer to the ground, it's going to begin to freeze, and then hits the ground, instantly freezes. That's freezing rain. And because that looks to be the case, we got this warm patch in the upper atmosphere for about a 24-hour period, I see nothing but that freezing rain. And it's going to extend farther and farther south as temperatures continue to drop into Saturday morning, okay? We're not looking at severe weather, heavy downpours, maybe some localized heavy rain. Kind of see that there near Crockett County, south of San Angelo, near Ozona. But beyond that, okay, it's just going to be a little bit more of that light freezing rain into the early part of Saturday morning. All right, now we're switching over to the long-term models. This is Saturday afternoon, still going to be right along that I-20 corridor. Anything north of Interstate 20 will likely see that more mixed to wintry precipitation. Anything south, still just going to be more rain. It slowly transitions to that snow once you see that big warm pocket move out farther toward like Wichita Falls, Dallas. During that time, that's when we could see more of that snowfall begin to come in late Saturday night into early Sunday morning. But notice how it kind of breaks apart right there around midnight into 3 a.m. Yeah, that's because the entire system is moving farther and farther east. We don't have a lot of moisture in our atmosphere, and any kind of lingering snow will be mainly localized to those higher elevations. I'm talking east, I'm talking west of Pecos, west of Fort Stockton, more out toward the Guadalupe Mountains. Okay, so what can we expect after that? Well, actually, Sunday afternoon, it's going to be fantastic. Plenty of sunshine, no more of this. That cloud cover is gone, but the cold isn't. We are going to stay below freezing all throughout your Sunday and into Monday as well. During that time, well, anything that fell is going to stick around until we get above freezing. So let's check something more than this. Future snowfall. I purposely did not put the numbers in this, mainly because the numbers are extreme and I don't trust them. As a matter of fact, let me just tell you this. Yesterday, they were saying Big Spring is going to get 10 inches. Yeah, we all know better than that. So notice how there's a lot of light blue on here. That light blue, think of that as going to be about less than an inch of snow, and that darker blue farther north, kind of out towards Seminole, Lamesa, Gale, that's going to be closing in on about 3 inches, while that kind of pinkish stuff right there near Guadalupe Pass, west of Carlsbad, that's going to be closing in on about maybe closer toward 5 inches to maybe even half a foot. Okay, so that's just going to be snowfall accumulations. So here's what you need to know. Friday through Sunday, we're going to see those wind chills nearing 0. Ice and snow is going to begin to accumulate. During that time, I want you guys to protect the 4 Ps: people, pets, pipes, and plants. Keep up with us for the latest forecast. We've got you covered. So here's a quick look at that timeline, just to kind of give you an easier perspective. Friday, it's going to be a cloudy start. We got 40s for the highs. We got that light rain early afternoon, and then it turns to freezing rain by the evening, potentially accumulating maybe 1/10 of an inch up to about 1/4 of an inch.